Hello everyone, it's Melanie here with Vintage Hill Studio. I'm so glad you dropped by today. I will be doing an interactive stitched leaf spinner card, and this is what it looks like. I'll be using a couple of dies. All the dies, supplies, dimensions can be found on my card blog. I've got the link before and after this video, so pop off over there to check that out. So my card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I will be matting it with those beautiful papers, and then I'm going to cut a window in the front panel of my card. Now these stitched leaves dies from Lawn Fawn are just beautiful, so I chose to use this tie-dye looking paper here, and I'm going to quickly run one of the maple leaves through my Big Shot die cutting machine, and I hope you can see the details in these leaves. It leaves little stitched lines, and I decided because my paper has some depth and dimension just in the color that I wouldn't do anything else to these leaves aside from coloring the stems a little later on. So I want a spinner leaf. That means I'm going to have the leaf image on the front and back. So I'm flipping my paper over and cutting with the same exact maple leaf die, so that when I line these papers up back to back, the stems and all the detail of the outline of the leaves will line up perfectly. See, like this. So this is actually going to make a sandwich for my spinner. Now, one of the best tools I've ever purchased is the Silicone Mat. It's actually a microwave mat from a big box store in the kitchen section. But when I'm working with adhesive like this right along the edge, you can see that it does not stick to the silicone. So it makes for a great work surface, and my paper never sticks wherever I've gone over the edge with my adhesive. Okay, here I'm taking some liquid adhesive, and the reason I'm doing this in a circular motion is because I want to make sure that all of that paper is properly adhered to my card front. I'm bringing over my brayer and really rolling it over there to smush that glue around underneath. And the reason I do that is because when I cut this window in the front of my card, I want to make sure that all of the edges of the perimeter of my cutout will be securely adhered. If I didn't do this with the liquid adhesive, you could get gaps in the layers, the paper layers of your window. So this is just a little extra step, but it works well when I go to do my die cutting. Okay, getting my last mat put on. This goes very quickly. You can see the way I do this, I kind of align my corners, and if I do that, I'm pretty much centered every time I do my mat. Nothing's going to be perfect, but that works for me. Okay, this is where my window will go, and I'll actually use my grid mat to help me align that in the center of the front of my card panel here. And then I will be putting a frame around the cutout, so I want to make sure I leave plenty of room on the sides and at the top for that frame. Okay, I'll use a little bit of washi tape to secure my die, and then I will run that through my die cutting machine with the card open like I've shown you, because you don't want to cut the window through the front and the inside of your card, you just want it on the front panel. Okay, there's my little window, and then I will cut 2 of these frames, and I will be using that to sandwich my spinner, which will make sense here in just a second. Alright, now again, this is the only thing I'm going to do to these leaves is just color the stems, a little bit of dark brown. That goes on very quickly. And my leaves are ready to go. And then I'll also take because this is the brush end of the marker, I'm just going around the opening of my window there to cover up any of the white that might be showing from the cutout of the papers. Okay, that's looking good. Get that all put aside. Now the invisible thread. Okay, no joke, I can barely see this myself while I'm doing this video. I mean, it really is invisible. This is going to allow our leaves to look as if they're floating in the window, which is the whole idea of kind of falling leaves, and then of course the spinner interactive part. So I cut my thread just a little longer than the opening of my window because I'm going to tie a knot in each end. And the reason I do this is to help stabilize the spinner mechanism of this thread. So as your recipient winds up the leaf for the interactive part, your thread won't give like it would if it were just slipping up and down behind your leaf. So anyway, it's just an extra step. Now I take a Sharpie to mark those knots because I'm really having a hard time seeing that, and I want to line that up on the length of my leaf like this. So to help me get started, I'll take a little adhesive here and just get this stuck down with the knots below that stem and above the tip of my leaf. Now I'm taking some score tape. This is some extra heavy duty, super sticky tape, and it works well to keep things in place. So I'm just taking a little extra time to really secure this thread. And you can see I'm going to use some of that score tape to sandwich the actual knots in my thread here. In other words, I have a piece of score tape above and below each knot. Alright, I'll get that last one put down, and then I'll be ready to take that backing paper off. And it takes a little while to get the backing paper off without pulling your score tape with it, so I did that off camera. Now you can see I'm trying to put this on some dark paper, so hopefully you can see the thread. To help secure one leaf layer to the other, I will come back with some liquid adhesive here, some glue. Just quickly give myself a few dots and get my other leaf layer put on, and then I will make sure that my threads are straight coming out of the top and bottom of each of those leaves. Okay, so here is our spinner element. We'll set that aside to dry for a little bit. Then I will be working on the circle frames. Now this is actually going to hold the threads in between each frame. So this is a sandwich of circle frames. And you can see now where the silicone mat comes in really handy. I flipped this over with the adhesive down, and it is not going to stick to my silicone mat, but it sure is handy for doing detailed adhesive work like this. So just to help secure each end of the thread, I'm going to wrap it around the top and bottom of these circle frames. Just a few wraps just gives it a little more strength in the string, and hopefully it won't move, you know, as this gets wound up to spin over and over again. The next thing I do, again with the liquid adhesive, is to use this on the ugly side of my frame and put the pretty one over the top of that. It's securing my threads, and it's also finishing this off nicely, because this will be the front of my card. Then all I need to do is clip off those little tails, and our spinner element is about ready to go. Set that aside to dry for a little while. You can see I have one ugly side and one pretty side. And the ugly side will go down on the front of my card like this. Now, before I adhere this, I want to work on the background of what shows through the window. And the craft was okay. It was a little plain. And then I thought, well, I can use that cutout. That was a little too busy. I really want my leaf to stand out, to be the star of the front of this card. So I found the perfect paper. It's got a little bit of fall sentiment already printed on the paper, and I think that sets the leaf off perfectly. So I'll get that put down on the inside of my card with another set of these circular frames. Now here's my trick for getting this centered perfectly every time. I will close the front of my card, apply adhesive to the cutout that I want on the inside of my card, and I adhere that through the window at the front, which puts perfect alignment on the inside every time. Okay, now I'll quickly get this frame put down around that inside, and I decided this paper was so cute and it has some of the little fall sentiments already printed on it, so I'm not going to add an additional stamped sentiment to the inside. Plus I want to leave plenty of room at the bottom for somebody to write a little note to whomever they're sending this card. right, so here's our spinner element. Again, working on the ugly side of the frame and putting that down, because you won't see that from the inside either, remember. So this is how it works. You just wind up your little spinner element, give it a few times, and when the recipient opens it, here is your spinning leaf. So I hope you enjoyed watching how this card was made, and if you've got some dies or any elements that you can use that match up front to back, I hope you'll give it a try. It's a lot of fun. There's so many possibilities. It just is a fun little card to make. And I think everybody likes a little interactive card. So if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for cards you'd like to see, I would take those into consideration as well. So I'm so happy you dropped by today. I hope you'll come back and visit me next week. And I hope you have a lovely fall. Happy crafting, everyone.